This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have an updated deck list for Beelstarmon in the BT9 meta, and this is one of my favorite archetypes in the game. It has just such an open-ended way to kind of deck build it, and unlike kind of like most other kind of archetypes, you kind of know what most of your lines are, and they're kind of like built that way anyways. But this one's really open-ended, which I really like, and it's been that way for a while. I think in BT8 it kind of took a step back, but there is a kind of way for BT9, not only from new support cards that were printed kind of for it, but also just kind of how the meta shapes. It just means that this deck kind of just naturally does a little bit better, in my opinion. So we're going to go over just the new cards that were released in BT9 and then also have an example deck list at the end. Real quick, though, if you don't know what Beelstarmon is and kind of why it's the best Three Musketeers. So it's a secret rare from BT6. It's purple, and then it has the effect of when playing this card from your hand, reduces play cost by 1 for each Three Musketeers Digimon card and option card with memory cost of 7 in your trash. And then on play, return 1 option card with memory cost of 7 from your trash to your hand. Then use 1 option card with memory cost of 7 in your hand without paying its memory cost. So the idea of this deck is just to fill up your trash with a bunch of these 7 cost memory cards, as well as these Three Musketeers. And then you can play this for really cheap. Like, you can just hard cast this for like 4 in the late game, and then with it you get to play a 7 cost option card, which means that if you're able to set this up, you get to do some really cheap plays, and most of them are kind of board wipes or board interactions, which are kind of nice. So and on top of that too, you get to put a bunch of those cards in your deck, which means there's a lot of them in your security that activate for free. You can kind of reap the benefits for that as well. So one of the first cards we're going to talk about, and if you guys didn't see the title of the video too, the build that we're going to show at the end is a blue-purple build, which I'm really excited for. Most of them kind of like purple for sure, and then sometimes like a little bit of black. And like originally, the Three Musketeers are purple, black, and red. Kidmon is not super good. Avenge Kidmon's kind of good for like countering this deck, but yeah, the red one's not super good. Gundramon was used a little bit. But again, Beelstar is the best. But most of the kind of the Three Musketeer options have the effect to, not have its color restriction when you play if you have a Three Musketeer out. But these other ones, like this blue Metal Storm, will need kind of a blue source. But it just says when you use this card, if you have Digimon with X antibody and its evolution cards, reduce the memory cost of this card in your hand by 2. But also just return 1 of your opponent's card with level 6 or lower to its owner's hand. Then unsuspend 1 Digimon with Gurumon in its name. But really what this is just another copy of Kakaida's Breath in this deck, which Kakaida's Breath is one of the strongest ways to remove cards in the game. Even though it goes back into your opponent's hand, they still have to kind of build back up to it, and it kind of bypasses any on-deletion effects too. So the only thing is that it is slightly worse than Kakaida's Breath, because Kakaida's Breath does anything. This is only level 6 or lower, but that is by and large most of the cards in the format right now anyways, especially since people aren't doing level 7s as much. They're kind of just doing the X antibody at level 6 on top of each other. So I think this will hit most targets that you want to care about, and I think it's kind of good to it. So it's just kind of like support for Three Musketeers, but just the fact that it costs 7 is really nice for us. We also do have Death Xmon. I don't know if it's Death Xmon, how to pronounce it, but you guys should know what this thing is, because it is going to be a terror for BT9. So it's a 20 cost, evolve for 6 on either purple or black. When you play this card, reduces memory cost for 3 for each Digimon and Tamer your opponent has in play. So if your opponent has 5 Tamer, or 5 between Tamers and Digimon, this becomes a 5 cost, which is pretty disgusting. And then it does on play or when Digivolving, de-Digivolve 1 all of your opponent's Digimon, and then delete all of their level 4 or lower Digimon. So it means that anything that was level 5 or less, as long as it wasn't like X on top of each other, it just goes away, which is great. And then also, end of your opponent's turn, once return, delete all of your opponent's Digimon at the lowest play cost. So this is just a terror, and it's also just a 15k that then once you play it, you get to start swinging it every turn. Just a lot of interaction with this guy to kind of delete your opponent's board and be very mean. And you can just Digivolve on top of a Beelstarmon with it too, so it's in archetype as well, which is kind of nice. And it's also black, so you can play like the Schwarmer, even though it's not like a Three Musketeers type, which is nice too. We also do have these X antibody rookies. So Goblimon is really nice for us just because it's a way to get a blue source. It is and get a kind of another proc on top of the purple Goblimons that we're playing in our deck. So we'll talk about that. He doesn't really get to search for anything because we don't run the other stuff in the deck that we have today. But just the fact that it's a blue rookie that you can use. I mean, the only thing it can find, it can't even find itself. That's right. But just the fact that you can have it as a blue source, I think is good enough. And you can kind of cycle with it. And it's, I don't know, I think it's a good card. And the Gazimon X antibody as well. So it just digivolves for 0 from Gazimon, and when digivolving, trash the top 3 cards of your deck. So this is just good for helping you just start your mills as well, especially if you like use a Nailbone effect to get back a Gazimon, which you can digivolve this on top of and get some extra 3 mills from there. I think it's worth it in the deck, and I think it's fine as well. So in worst case, you can just digivolve this for, you know, like on a regular Demi-Meramon too. So it's never like super dead in hand. This can sometimes be dead in hand too, but even just hard casting this for 3 and then having a blue source you can play like your Metal Storm or anything else, I think is kind of good too. We also do have this Tamer, and one of the weird things is that we wanted to have blue sources in a lot of these lists, and there weren't really any good ones for us. Like the other 2 blue ones like didn't really do a lot, but I do like Kiyoshiro, sorry, just because like every time you attack with something that's 5 or lower or 5 or higher, if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, you can suspend this to draw 1. So just being able to do that, it just means that you can have like a Beelstarmon and the next turn swing with it and you get to draw a card. So that's good enough for me. And or just if you have the Death Xmon as well, if you play it for cheap and then start swinging with the next turn, this will let you draw a card. So I think that's good and kind of worth it. There's also some multicolor Tamers that came out in the set that I think are worth exploring as well. This is just the one I chose for our list. And so getting to our list for the day, we do have this one. And so again, it is this purple-blue build. And you're going to see a lot of cards that we kind of see already in Beelstarmon in the BT8 meta. And so we do have the Gabumon here. So on deletion, you get the trash 2, or draw 2, trash 1, which means you can digivolve Gabumon X antibody on top of it and then swing with it. And then it's probably going to die because it's a 2K. And then from there, you get to trigger that effect, which is kind of nice. Either Gazimon is good. Like Gazimon just at 4 is good in this deck anyway. So I think that's worth it there. We got some Vilemon blockers and promote as well. Scatter mode is still a very good card for us too. Even just hard casting this for 4 just kind of starts setting up our trash as well as being able to cycle some cards. 4 Beelstarmons, of course, 2 Deathmon, Jewalt Swarmer at 2, 3 Fly Bullet, 2 copies of Calling of the Darkness, 2 Mist Memory Boost. This is really good for getting us memory as well as getting us just filling up our trash. We do have the 2-3 with the Metal Storm as well as the Cicadas Breath. I think we probably just want to do what 4-1. Honestly, I don't know why I did 2-3. That's silly. Like this is just strictly better all the time, right? Yeah, I don't know why I did 3-2. It should be 4-1, right? Is there any reason? I drove for like 8 hours today. So if you got to this far in the video and it doesn't make sense, I'm sorry about it. Yeah, this was just better, right? Why not have 4 Cicadas Breath? What am I doing? What am I doing here? We also have 1 Deathclaw. We also have 2 Nailbones as well. And then for our Tamers, we have 2 Sora Joes. And this is just really good for us, especially since like you can swing with a Gabumon X antibody, use the effect to remove sources from it as well. And it can just kind of help you get some advantage there. This just gets you a lot of memory and just prevents your opponent from playing any like rookies for free or for 3 to pass it your turn, because then you give them way more memory. And then also the Kiyoshiro to help us get our own memory as well. And, you know, can be a card draw with the Beelstarmon or the Deathmon. So our eggs are the Demi-Meramons, which I think are pretty standard here. I don't think we need a 5th egg. If we do, we do the Sukaimon as well, but we're just doing the Demi-Mera. And some other cards to kind of consider too is mostly just Omnimons, because we have the Zwart Defeat as well. And also part of the reason for that is this Gabumon, you get to just find anything with Omnimon in its name. And so all of these are just this one. You could also do the new one from the set too, but just these being able to do some effects. This has to digivolve on top of a regular Omnimon, so that might be tricky. Zwart can be kind of nice because you can play like a promote and a Vilemon off it if you need to, and then you can swing. You get the Beelstarmon back into your hand, which means you can hard play it again because of just how this works. Zwart Defeat is already being used in like a lot of Beelstar anyways, so I think this is worth considering. And then which especially since like it works well with the Kiyoshiro as well, because you have to play it for free if it hits off security, and then swing you get to draw cards, which is nice. Cool Boy was also a consideration for this too. Just lets you find anything with X antibody, so it's only the Gabumon and Gazimon, but it could be kind of changed to the deck as well. the X antibody option card that this searches for, and the Gabumon searches for, I didn't find super helpful for us. So just because we don't have any level 5 Digimon, and most of the all the Garurumons that are purple just kind of stink, and the blue ones aren't great unless you have like the whole archetype and go all the way up to it. So this is just my example list. Definitely run 4 and 1. I don't know why I'm just running 2 Metal Storm. Like, this is just clearly better all the time in the deck, right? I don't know what I was thinking. You should change it to that. But besides that, I think this is really fun. And I think that if you are someone who've tried Beelstarmon in the past, and like we're in, previously this super hybrid meta where Beelstarmon doesn't have a lot of interaction with that, and they're fast enough where they can just do a lot of damage and really take advantage of all the memory you can give them at one time, I think this is something to consider to play again, sleep up again, and try to have some fun with. But that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think of this deck as well as any other BT9 decks you guys want me to go over, and I'll catch you all next time.